One of the big advantages for natural flood management is people say it's good for the environment, but you actually need to design in to the feature. If you want to trap sediment, which also removes phosphorus and other things like pathogens, you actually have to engineer it to function properly. So whilst it's good to slow things down and manage flow a bit better, we actually design these into the system. So we think, well, you've got to imagine that many moons ago, before we started natural flood management, we were actually putting in sediment traps purely for farm pollution, and it was kind of the expansion of the sediment traps and pollutant traps that actually got us into building much bigger and bigger ponds. So in Scotland these might be called rural suds, and down in the Stroud project they have a rural suds officer, so that's a good concept in itself. So this is just, to us, it's natural flood management with other benefits, but we make the benefits function. Once we started doing natural flood management schemes across the country, they were at quite small scale, and it was quite easy to see the impacts they were having locally. So everybody would argue, well, that's got a very local impact, and maybe it only works in small storms, but at least we've managed to establish that if you put a network of these constructed features in, they actually work really well in really big thunderstorms, because they just destroy energy, and that's really where the flash flooding comes from. The problem of scaling up is when you have storms like Storm Desmond, where it rains all day at 10 millimetres per hour, so you're looking at 240 to 300 millimetres per day. It becomes an issue of volume, not intensity. And then once that all comes down the valley, and when you go beyond the scales that we're used to, 10 kilometres or 20 square kilometre catchments, then it's the volume you've got to address. And so the scepticism that local natural flood management schemes won't work at that scale are absolutely spot on. Okay, they store a small amount of water, they're good at slowing down flow, but if we're going to save big towns like York and Leeds and London, we're going to have to either have a very, very large amount of natural flood management interventions, or we're going to have something that we're calling natural flood management plus, this is the first example of it, where we actually put much bigger bunds into ideal locations that can store very large amounts of water. So really we're trying to just up the amount of storage that we can create in a big storm, and if we keep adding more and more storage, we eventually get to the kind of levels that you would get with a more traditional reservoir or a detention structure. So that's where we want to be, more and more storage.